Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining this morning. Let's make a start with Radha Madhav and then we carry on to chapter 5, verse 8. Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Giravardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Giravardhari Yashodanandan Vraj Jana Ranjana Yashodanandan Vraj Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tirvanchari Jayo Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Hari Hari Bol Jaya Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Staptam Yena Bhutale Samrupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishamsha Shri Rupam Sagrijatam Sagana Raghunatham Nitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvetam Savadutam Krishna Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shivishakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kant Radha Kant Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanveshwari Rishabhanu Sutadevi Pranmami Haripriya Vancha Kalpatu Brihascha Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo 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 Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasti Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Mukham Kroti Vachalam Bhangum Nayate Gurem Yat Kirpatam Mandashi Guru Dintaranam Ramananda Madhvam Shirtanya Ishvam Hari Om Tassat Narayam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottam Devim Sasvityasam Tato Madhuriyat Nashta Ishabdreshu Nityam Bhagavad-Sevayā Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Neshtaki Jai Hari Om Tassat. Okay, so we'll stop sharing this and number 8. So we're talking about the instructions of Narad Muni to Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is despondent because he has done so much work. He has written the Vedas and Puranas and everything, but he's still not happy. There's something missing. He feels there's something missing. So we continue from there. Shri Narada Vacha Bhavta Anudita Prayam Yasho Bhagavato Amalam Yanevasau na tushyata manyeta darshanam khilam. So Sri Narad Vacha said, Bhavata by you, Anudita Prayam, almost not praised, Yash, glories, Bhagavata of the personality of Godhead, Amalam, spotless, Yena, by which Eva certainly asau. He, the personality of Godhead, does not tushyata be pleased, manye, I think that darshanam, philosophy, kilam, inferior. So Narad Muni is going to explain to him where is the problem. Shri said, you have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the personality of Godhead. That is the key problem. That philosophy which does not satisfy the transcendental sense of the Lord is considered worthless. So this is why a lot of times material knowledge is considered worthless, because it has no glorification of the Lord and it does not satisfy the Lord. And even in scriptures, if there's no mention of the Lord, his glorification, then it's useless. The eternal relation of an individual soul with the Supreme Soul, Personality Godhead, is constitutionally one of being the eternal servitor of the eternal Master. The Lord has expanded himself as living beings in order to accept loving service from them. So this is very interesting. The Lord has expanded himself as living beings in order to accept loving service from them. And if you think about it, he's expanded himself as Radha, he's expanded himself as Lord Balram, who's everything, like his cushion and his clothes and his dham. He has expanded himself further to everything that can serve the Lord. So who are we to think, oh, we have to serve? This we are part and parcel of the Lord. And when Krishna expands, he expands for his service. And this alone can satisfy both the Lord and the living beings. Such a scholar as Vyasadeva has completed many expansions of the Vedic literatures, ending with Vedanta philosophy, but none of them have been written directly glorifying the personality of Godhead. So here we are. So dry philosophical speculations, even on the transcendental subject of the Absolute, have very little attraction without directly dealing with the glorification of the Lord. The personality of Godhead is the last word in transcendental realization. The Absolute realized as impersonal Brahman, or localized soul, Paramatma, is less productive of transcendental bliss than the supreme personal realization of his glories, because the super soul and the personal are partial realization, they're not complete realizations. So the compiler of the Vedanta Darshan is Vyasadeva himself, yet he's troubled, although he's the author. So what sort of transcendental bliss can be derived by the readers and listeners of Vedanta, which is not explained directly by Vyasadeva, the author? Herein arises the necessity of explaining Vedanta Sutra in the form of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam by the same author. So it's very, it's productive if you can explain the essence of the Vedas, the cream of the Vedas, right? It's very, very important that it's explained. The overview is necessary. We were talking at the 24-hour Kirtan about, I was just thanking some of the devotees who came and give an overview, and we came to the conclusion that whatever we're doing, we're building the cake, layers and layers of the cake, and then the overview by exalted devotee is the icing and the decorations on the top of the cake, which completes the cake. So that is very necessary to get the complete picture. So Srila Prabhupada explains that Narad Muni's two diagnoses, he says, because Vyasadeva had not glorified the Lord directly, that was the reason for his dissatisfaction. Srila Prabhupada's special relationship with Lord Chaitanya And when you read his purports, he is the ambassador of Lord Chaitanya. This is Srila Prabhupada. We get the result of a wonderful, loving relationship. You have not praised the Lord properly. And focus on pleasing Krishna. So you glorify Krishna and you focus on pleasing Krishna. Krishna is satisfied with Vedanta Sutra or scholarly works. When we incessantly growing Krishna, we will notice the difference. So Narada said, please write one book, completely glorify the Lord throughout the book. So when we incessantly glorify Krishna, we'll notice a difference of what we have written before and what we have written now. And this is Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavad-Gita. He's like every other word is devotion service to Krishna, devotion service to Krishna. Complete glorification. And in his purport, and you'll find here in his purport, he's always talking about the personality of Godhead. It's very, very important that Krishna is always the center of all conversation. So we go on to the next one. Yatha dharmadayas chartha muni vira nukiratitha natatha vasudevasya mahima hi anuvarnitha. So yatha, as much as dharma, adhya, all four principles of religion, religious behavior, sa and artha, purposes, muni varya, by yourself, the great sage, anukrititha, repeatedly described, na, not tatha, in that way, vasudevasya, of the personality Godhead, Shri Krishna, mahima, glories, he certainly anuvarnitha, so constantly described. So although great sage, you have broadly described the four principles beginning with religious performances, you have not described the glories of the Supreme Personality, Vasudeva. So the prompt diagnosis of Sri Narad is at once declared the root cause of the despondency of Vyasadeva was his deliberate avoidance of glorifying the Lord in his various editions of the Puranas. He has certainly, as a matter of course, given descriptions of the glories of the Lord Shri Krishna, but not as many as given to religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and salvation. So the four Purusharthas, he's talked a lot about them in the Vedas, but he has not given enough credit to the glories of Lord Krishna. So the Vedas are about these four things, which are actually really all for our sense gratification. We want sense gratification, we want salvation for our own sense gratification. What we should be wanting is service to the Lord. These four items are by far inferior to engagement in the devotional service of the Lord. Shri Vyasadeva, as the authorized scholar, knew very well this difference, and still, instead of giving more importance to the better type of engagement, namely devotional service to the Lord, he had more or less improperly used his valuable time, and thus he was despondent. So he feels that he spent so much time on this, and maybe he wasted his time, namely devotional service to the Lord. He had more or less improperly used his valuable time, and thus he was despondent. From this, it is clearly indicated that no one can be pleased substantially without being engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad-Gita, this fact is clearly mentioned. So after liberation, which is the last item in the line of performing religiosity, etc., one is engaged in pure devotional service. This is called the stage of self-realization, or the Brahma Bhuta stage. So just read this again. After liberation, which is the last item in the line of performing religiosity, one is engaged in pure devotional service. This is called the stage of self-realization, or the Brahma-Bhuta stage. After attainment of this Brahma-Bhuta stage, then one is satisfied. So Brahma-Bhuta prasanatma na surtati na kamshti. But satisfaction is the beginning of transcendental bliss. One should progress by attaining neutrality and equality in the relative world. and passing the stage of equanimity, one is fixed in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. This is the instruction of the Personality Godhead in Bhagavad-Gita. The conclusion is that in order to maintain the status quo of the Brahma-Bhuta stage, as also to increase the degree of transcendental realization, Narad recommended to Vyasadeva that Vyasadeva should now eagerly and repeatedly describe the path of devotional service. This would cure him from gross despondency. So, Narad Muni has highlighted the problem and he's given the solution, and so Vyasadeva has a little bit more work to do by completing the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So it's explained here that the Purusharthas, we were talking about the 4 Purusharthas, are far inferior to devotional service to the Lord. Vyasadeva knew this, yet he didn't glorify devotional service. He covered Krishna with demigod worship, ritualistic activities, karma kand activities. So he mentioned everything but apart from glorifying Krishna enough. And that's where the problem was. And in 10, Na yadvacha chitra padam hare yasho jaga pavitram pragnita krihishtit tad vyasam tirtham ushanti manas na yatra hamsa nimanti ushikshayaha. So not yet that vachaha vocabulary, chitrapadam decorative, harihi of the Lord, yash glories, jagat universe, pavitram sanctified, pargranita described, karhichit hardly, tat that vyasam crows, tirtham place of pilgrimage, ushanti think, manas ha saintly persons, no not, na not, yatra ve hamsaha all perfect beings, nirmanati take pleasure, ushik sheha those who reside in the transcendental abode. So those words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows, since the all perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode. They do not derive any pleasure there. So this is very interesting. It's a place for crows, pilgrimage for crows. So what does that mean? Crows and swans are not birds of the same feather. Because of the different mental attitudes, the fruitive workers or passionate men are compared to crows, whereas the all perfect saintly persons are compared to the swans. The crows take pleasure in a place where garbage is thrown out, just as the passionate fruitive workers take pleasure in wine and woman and places for gross sense pleasure. The swans do not take pleasure in the places where crows are assembled. So you never see a swan in a garbage area, are assembled for conferences and meetings. They are instead seen in the atmosphere of natural scenic beauty, where there are transparent reservoirs of water, nicely decorated with stems of lotus flowers in variegated colors of natural beauty. That is the difference between the two classes of birds. So non-devotees and devotees are compared to these two birds. Nature has influenced different species of life with different mentalities because of the different mentality. And it is not possible to bring them up into the same rank and file. So although we are humans, gross body is the same, but mentally we tend to have differences. Similarly, there are different kinds of literature for different types of men or different mentality. Mostly the market literatures which attract men of the crows categories are literatures containing refuse remnants of sensuous topics. They are generally known as mundane talks in relation with gross body and subtle mind. They are full of subject matter described in decorative language, full of mundane similes and metaphorical arrangements. Yet with all that, they do not glorify the Lord. Such poetry and prose on any subject matter is considered decoration of a dead body. Because without Krishna, everything is useless. Spiritually advanced men who are compared to the swans do not take pleasure in such dead literatures, which are sources of pleasure for men who are spiritually dead. These literatures in the mode of passion and ignorance are distributed under different labels, but they can hardly help the spiritual urge of the human beings, and thus the swan-like spiritually advanced men have nothing to do with them. Such spiritually advanced men are called manas, also because they always keep up the standard of transcendental voluntary service to the Lord on the spiritual plane. This completely forbids fruitive activities for gross bodily satisfaction or subtle speculation of the material egoistic mind. So there's a comparison here, how they're satisfying their senses. Socially, literally men, scientists, mundane poets, theoretical philosophers, and politicians who are completely absorbed in the material advancement of sense pleasure are all dolls of the material energy. They take pleasure in a place where rejected subject matters are thrown. According to Swami Shirādhar, this is the pleasure of prostitute hunters. But literatures which describe the glories of the Lord are enjoyed by the Paramhamsas who have grasped the essence of human activities. So, what are you reading? What are you practicing? Is it just for this life? Just for this small period? Or are you doing something on a bigger scale, which is worth a lot more important, and which will have bearings in a good way in your next journey after this life? Most people are just making the most of their gross and subtle bodies in this life. So it's just considered worthless because you're not doing anything, not making any plans for your next life. So it's explained that we want to grow from crow to swan. So we have the crow mentality, we need to change it to swan. Crow find pleasure in garbage and swan natural scenic beauty. So another example is given of bees. Bees never come near stool. They go to find honey. So the flies go to stool and never go to honey. Train our consciousness in every way to look for the honey like activities of Krishna and for Krishna. So don't get trapped in enjoying garbage, cinemas, etc. If you want to eat junk food, cook for Krishna and eat it if you must. But have Krishna in the center. So where is Krishna? That's Vrindavan, that is Dham, and that is the place of swans. So we've got to actually check ourselves that are we doing things like a crow or like a swan. Tadvag visargo jantaga viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abdavati api namane nandatsya yasho nikitani yat shrinvanti gayanti garnanti sadvaha. That vak vocabulary, visarg, creation, janata, the people in general, agha, sins, viplava, revolutionary, yasmin, in which pratishlokam, each and every stanza, abdavati, irregularly composed, api, in spite of, namani, transcendental names, etc., anantasya, of the unlimited Lord, yash, glories, anikitani, depicted, yet what? Shrinavanti, do hear, gayanti, do sing, gananti, do accept, sadhava, the purified men who are honest. So you can see whether we are reading or hearing like we are now, it's really most important thing is to glorify and serve Lord Krishna. That is the essence of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. That is the essence of our lives. That every day we must glorify and remember Krishna and serve, do some kind of service. Very, very important for us. So on the other hand, the literatures which is full of descriptions of transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastime, etc., like Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation, full of transcendental words directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. So Srila Prabhupada explains that it is a qualification of the great thinkers to pick up the best even from the worst. It is said that the intelligent man should pick up nectar from a stalk of poison, should accept gold even from a filthy place, should accept a good and qualified wife even from an obscure family, and should accept a good lesson even from a man or from a teacher who comes from the untouchables. These are some of the ethical instructions for everyone in every place without exception. So again, if you think about the swan knows how to extract the milk from the water. So we should know how to get the best from every situation, make the best of a bad bargain. But a saint is far above the level of an ordinary man. He is always absorbed in glorifying the Supreme Lord, because by broadcasting the holy name and fame of the Supreme Lord, the polluted atmosphere of the world will change, and as a result of propagating the transcendental literatures like Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, people will become sane in their transactions. While preparing this commentation on this particular stanza of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, we have a crisis before us. Our neighboring friend China has attacked the borders of India with a militaristic spirit. It's funny we're talking about this today. We have practically no business in the political field. Yet we see that previously there were both China and India, and they both lived peacefully for centuries without ill feeling. The reason is that they lived those days in the atmosphere of God consciousness, and every country over the surface of the world was God-fearing, pure-hearted and simple, and there was no question of political diplomacy. There is no cause of quarrel between the two countries, China and India, over land which is not very suitable for habitation. And certainly there is no cause for fighting on this issue. But due to the age of quarrel, Kali, which we have discussed, there is always a chance of quarrel on slight provocation. And we can see that right now. This is due not to the issue in question, but to the polluted atmosphere of this age. It's amazing how, Srila Prabhupada has given this purport, which is very relevant to what's going on. Systematically, there is propaganda by a section of people to stop glorification of the name and fame of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, there is a great need for disseminating the message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam all over the world. It is the duty of every responsible Indian. So, as Indian, we have a responsibility to broadcast the transcendental message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam throughout the world, to do all the supermost good, as well as to bring about the desired peace in the world. So the Indians have responsibility to the general population to spread the word and bring about peace in the world. Yesterday, I went chanting. I went for a walk. I was chanting with my bead bag, and as I came out my car and walked a little further, there was a couple, and they looked at me and said, "Are you praying?" And I just smiled at them, and I didn't want to get into much conversation at that time, and I just carried on. But yeah, you got to show people, yes, you're praying for peace and unity around the world, and then when there's peace and unity, people will focus on spirituality. Those quarreling, they have no time for spirituality. It's the duty of every responsibility to broadcast the transcendental message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam throughout the world to all the most good, as well as to bring about the desired peace in the world. Because India has failed in her duty by neglecting this responsible work, there is so much quarrel and trouble all over the world. We are confident that if the transcendental message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is received only by the leading men of the world, certainly there will be a change of heart, and naturally the people in general will follow them. The mass of people in general are tools in the hands of the modern politicians and leaders of the people. So this is the problem. If there's a change of heart of the leaders only, certainly there will be radical change in the atmosphere of the world. We know that our honest attempt to present this great literature conveying transcendental messages for reviving the God consciousness of the people in general and re-spiritualizing the world atmosphere is fraught with many difficulties. So Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is just not about glorifying God, that God wants glorification. No, God doesn't need anything. The glorification is God is there for us to hear. Because when we hear the glorification of God, it brings about purification. That's all what it's all about. If Krishna comes and does pastimes in every universe, he's just eternally doing pastimes. It's not because he just loves doing drama or he likes doing pastime. It's because when we hear the pastimes, it brings about glorification. It brings about connection to the Lord. So whatever Krishna does, if he made the 16,000 princesses, queens, he did it because this is what they wanted, this is what was needed. No, he did not do it for his own sense of gratification. So whatever Krishna does, he's doing for our benefit. He's setting up things so we can benefit and purify, because that is our goal, is to purification, so we can go back home and to the spirituality. The mass of people in general are tools in the hands of modern politicians and leaders of the people. If there's a change of heart of the leaders only, certainly there will be radical change in the atmosphere of the world. We know that our honest attempt to present this great literature conveying transcendental messages from reviving the God consciousness of the people in general and re-spiritualizing the world atmosphere is fraught with many difficulties. So our presenting this matter in adequate language, especially a foreign language, will certainly fail. And there will be so many literary discrepancies despite our honest attempt to present it in the proper way. But we are sure that with all our faults in this connection, the seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into consideration, and the leaders of society will still accept this due to its being an honest attempt to glorify the Almighty God. So all the parampara has given us the knowledge, and then every new addition to the parampara, especially Srila Prabhupada, has added some value to that literature, which Srila Prabhupada, doing the translations for the Western world to also benefit from this. And when they benefit, then they spread the word in the form of preaching, book distribution, Harinam Sankirtan. So in everybody, the word is out everywhere, all over the world. When there is a fire in a house, the inmates of the house go out to get help from the neighbors, which may be foreigners. And yet, without knowing the language, the victims of the fire express themselves. And the neighbors understand the need, even though not expressed in the same language. The same spirit of cooperation is needed to broadcast this transcendental message of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam throughout the polluted atmosphere of the world. So the world is on fire. So you don't necessarily need to the language of the other person. They will understand when you explain it, nicely, honestly, they will understand. After all, it is a technical science of spiritual values. And thus we are concerned with the techniques and not with the language. If the techniques of this great literature are understood by the people of the world, there will be success. When there are too many materialistic activities by the people in general all over the world, there is no wonder that a person or a nation attacks another person or nation on slight provocation. So this is the rule of this age of Kali or quarrel. So we have to do something about it. The atmosphere is already polluted with corruption of all description, and everyone knows it well. There are so many unwanted literatures full of materialistic ideas of sense gratification. In many countries, there are bodies appointed by the state to detect and censor obscene literature. This means that neither the government nor the responsible leaders of the public want such literature, yet it is in the marketplace because the people want it for sense gratification. I guess same goes for drugs and cigarettes and alcohol, but it's there. The people in general want to read, and this is a natural instinct. Because their minds are polluted, they want such. So really, the system is that they want to read, but because of the mentality, they enjoy that kind of literature. Under the circumstances, transcendental literature like Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam will not only diminish the activities of the corrupt mind or the people in general, but also it will supply food for their hankering after reading some interesting literature. In the beginning, they may not like it because one suffering from jaundice is reluctant to take sugar candy because it tastes bitter. But we should know that sugar candy is the only remedy for jaundice. Similarly, let there be systematic propaganda for popularizing reading of Bhagavad-Gita and the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which will act like sugar candy for the jaundice-like condition of sense gratification. When men have a taste for this literature, the other literatures which are catering poison to society will then automatically cease. We are sure, therefore, that everyone in human society will welcome Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, even though it is now presented with so many faults, for it is recommended by Sri Narad, who has very kindly appeared in this chapter. So, not only Vyasadeva, it is also our duty to spread Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to the bigger society. Okay, I think I mentioned everything. Just as Krishna is Bhavgrahi, we will become purified by associating with Bhagavatam because glorifying the Lord is there. So associating with Bhagavatam is the purification process, and it's very important we purify ourselves every day. Thank you so much, and very interesting reading today. I'd like to hear from yourselves as well. Shrishi Mataji, Hare Krishna, nice to have you here. Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, very nice.
Hare Krishna.
Glorifying Krishna, how important Krishna is in our life. And how important is his literature. By reading his literature, we can benefit this course of Kali and can go back to Godhead. And we are servant of Krishna, we are part and parcel of Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
And our position and duty is not that we should, it's our duty is to save Krishna and glorify Krishna. But Vyasadeva, he wrote 17 Puranas, but he wasn't very happy because he didn't glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he's very important. He's the cause of all causes, and he's the source of demigods, he's the source of all living entity. And that's why he wasn't feeling very happy. And by reading his pastimes, his literature, one get good qualities, and we can go back to Godhead. And by reading modern literature, we just we don't deliver any happiness, anything. We just read about the quarrels and what people are doing, and not nice things to satisfy our soul. That's just something we read to satisfy our soul, because our soul needs happiness, and the soul needs to hear about Lord Krishna had a literature, Vedic literature, especially Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And this Bhagavatam or Vedic literatures you can read again and again and again. We don't get this fed up like every time when you read something new come up. That like probably you have missed it. But this modern literature, you read once and then you get fed up and you don't want to read again. So nice about this because this is about Krishna, and when you glorify Krishna, you never get fed up, and gives you good qualities, and how to live nicely in this world, and how to help people. It gives you good instruction. But by reading the modern literatures, you don't develop any good qualities. You just what you read, you want to act like that. So if you read good Vedic literature, you have good qualities, and if you read modern like crows, there's it should mention here crows and swans. The crows, they always go on the bed where garbage is. So these modern literatures are compared with garbage. It doesn't help you in your life. But this Vedic literature is like fun, and it helps you in your life, how to live your life, how to live good life, and how to develop love for Krishna. That's what that's all about. I mean, it's gone into detail, but so nice to know about. That's why they wasn't satisfied, but when he wrote Bhagavatam, then he was very satisfied. But because he described the qualities, and what Krishna says, like if you read his appearance and disappearance, I mean, you'll never come in this, never born in this world again. So we've got so many benefits by reading these Vedic literatures, and we should always try to read, especially among all the Puranas. I mean, they say they're named by other Puranas, Shiv Puran and Agni Puran, Brahma Puran, all they're named by their names. But this one, they didn't say Krishna Puran, they say Mahabhagavat Puran, because he is Bhagwan, he is Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we should read about Bhagavatam, about Bhagwan, Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if you know, if anybody believes Krishna, Supreme Personality of God, they get liberated. And that's what the essence of the Vedas are. If you know Krishna is Supreme Personality of God, that means you have read all the Vedas. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Yeah, I like that. The soul wants to hear Bhagavatam. The soul wants to hear the glories of the Lord, but because of the our mentality, lack of purification, it avoids. But for everyone, everybody's soul wants to hear it, but because of the different mentalities, it avoids. Thank you, Mataji. And Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Mataji, are you there?
I am. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you for the class. Yeah, for me, key takeaways are that without glorifying Krishna, as in the verses that we've covered in the example of the Puranas, then unfortunately then we're missing the point. In the same way, if Krishna's not in the center of our lives, there's no value. If we're simply wasting our time and just becoming entangled in this material world. We've missed the point. we've lost the plot. We've missed the point. That kind of thing. And I also like the point that were made around how words that don't glorify the Lord are compared to crows being attracted to garbage. And in a way, I was thinking, well, actually, if we're not glorifying the Lord, then actually what we are doing, we are actually speaking garbage. It's not, we've missed the point. He's not the focus. So for me, it's showing me that actually, this is teaching me that I should use my mind and my speech, my words, my actions to always serve the Lord. Let's always keep him in the middle. Let's keep him in the center. And it's about elevating our consciousness and dovetailing whatever we have to offer to the Lord, whatever that may be. So that for me was the key things. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mata. Yes. And so we should be careful who we associate with and how we spend our time when we are alone, and how we associate with when we associate with other people, to make sure we keep away from garbage and stay in the right place with the swans like attitude. Thank you so much. Praveen Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, very nice points by Suresh Mataji, Hina Mataji, yourself, Prabhuji. Yeah, so we have to be like swans and bees and not like crows and flies. And we are very fortunate to have your association, Prabhuji. So you're reading Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to us every day. And that is the only thing that will purify us. And like you said, we have to choose who we associate with. So devotee association is very important. It's important what we see, what we hear, what we eat. So we are very fortunate we got mercy of Krishna and Srila Prabhupada to have all this. And this morning we read in Chaitanya Charitamrita the importance of prasad. So how important it is to cook nice things and distribute. And I always feel like we only distribute in congregation, but I just hope we can go further and distribute to others so they get mercy as well. And like you said about the name, last Rath Yatra, when we were serving prasad, we realized like there was like a homeless person there. So then I said to my Prabhu, go and ask him to come and get prasad as well. So he came, but then still we were like careful with our bags and stuff because you don't know, because they're there, because he was there all day. So we were watching him. And in the end, like everybody had gone, and then we were still clearing, helping Parshuram Prabhu to load the van. And then there were like Rath Yatra, London Rath Yatra leaflets. They were just thrown on the floor. And my Prabhu, he started collecting. And then that man appeared again. Shall I help you? And he said, is there anything I can do to help? And then my Prabhu, he gave him a few jobs. And then we ended up talking to him, And then he said he was a jockey. He's done so well and, looked after the family, whatever. But he's now homeless. And then he said how happy he was to hear the name today, Lord's name, although he was Muslim. And he said, my heart felt so good. He said, I stayed here listening to the name. So, it made me feel so happy that although he's Muslim, but his soul still appreciated the name. So that is, so that is what we're missing, this, food for the soul. And we just try to find happiness here and there, but there's no happiness anywhere. And this happiness is eternal, and it only increases the more we associate with devotees, more we read, our happiness is growing. But like myself, I'm still silly. We're still distracted, and we go here and there, and then we feel bad, and then we say, no, okay, I'll do my chanting now, because that is where we find the happiness. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I remember that. It was very interesting. Yeah, I saw the homeless man. That was wonderful experience. Thank you. Thank you for reminding. Yeah, Seve Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining.
Hare Krishna. Uh, yes, like it's my. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I think everybody has expressed what was actually going on in my mind while going through when you were reciting today. Well, yeah, so I guess from today's class, the crux is from where you started, how Lord Vyasa was not feeling contented, and and Lord Narada, you know, uh, explained why so, because uh, even even we humans could relate how we like everything that we create. Everybody's quite attached to their creation. It's usually not. Uh, Usually we don't find faults in what we have created, you know. Um, I mean, be it something physical or even the progeny, we don't find fault in our kids, and so on. So when Vyasa was going through this, but Vyasa was fair enough with the Lord, stating that he's not feeling contented, and the crux is, if we don't keep Krishna as the center of everything that we indulge ourselves in, there is always going to be a void that's not going to be fulfilled. So we are obliged to create, and do things. But if we keep Krishna as center, I think we'll be all right. That's all. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you so much. Yeah, they say that when we are when somebody attacks us, or when we are wrong, we become lawyers, and when somebody else is wrong, we become judges. Like, easy pass judgment. But it's nice that if we can sort of reflect on ourselves as well, that how I can, but instead of be getting defensive, we can, if like if Nagmani had come and said, "Oh, you've done so much, but there's something missing," and like that. But yeah, he was already finding that there's something missing, and he wasn't feeling right. Like he was already reflecting, not that I've done so much work, so I really can't do anymore. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just tired. We've done so much writing. Where's the problem? There should be any problem. I've covered everything. But yeah, he was willing to reflect that why I'm not happy, and then he was willing to listen and accepting Nadmani as spiritual master and hear from him, and then agreeing with what he had told him, and then taking the right action. And this is how exalted people operate. So thank you so much, Prabhu. Radharani?
Hare Krishna, everyone. Actually, these two verses are so beautiful. Verse number 10 and 11. I think they are going to be perfect verses. Like actually, the whole Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the whole Mahabharata Puran is perfect at any age, at any yuga, at any point in time. But it is so amazing that whenever we open these Purans, whenever we start reading from these Mahapurans, how it seems that how the present gets related. And it's all Krishna's, mercy upon us, that Krishna is giving us the right lessons for the day and the time we are in at the moment. So if we all look at our lives, I think I was just reflecting myself on it, that we will be complaining life after life, isn't it? We achieve something, we are not satisfied. We make a life around us, we are not satisfied. We are complaining. Most of the time, all the human beings, we can put hand on our heart and say that yes, we are all dissatisfied. So do we want to be dissatisfied life after life, just going through different species, or maybe coming as a human being, maybe life after life? If we have done so many good deeds, we will be given a body of a person, of a man or woman, but we shall be again complaining if we are not worshipping Krishna, glorifying Krishna, serving Krishna, and remembering Krishna doing everything for Krishna, living life around Krishna from morning till evening, all our activities, if we are not going to devote to Krishna, then life after life we'll be complaining, and we'll be dissatisfied, just like Vyasadev. We haven't done nothing compared to Srila Vyasadev, but still Srila Vyasadev was dissatisfied. So this is a big lesson for all of us, that there's so much garbage around us, especially when we are by ourselves. We are associating in our thoughts with those people who are not, going to elevate our consciousness. So that is also a bad thing. And when we are going to meet people, try not to meet people who will bring you down, or who give you wrong kind of, verbal association, or you get wrong teachings from them. I would say don't meet them, because if you're meeting them, you're going to repeat that you saw this, you found this fault in them, they were like this. So what's the point? There's always choice in our lives. We can have the good or the bad. Association is in everything, whether it's with the people or the food we're eating. That is also association, isn't it? The kind of clothes we want to wear, where it's coming from, the kind of environment we want to create around us. So association is seeping in every little scenario in our life, around our life. So the examples of the crow's pilgrimage. So do we want to be a crow? When you look at crow, even the way the crow is made and the way a swan has been made, is two different things, isn't it? Swan attracts you. I don't think anybody in this world can say I don't like swans. And crows, definitely everybody likes to keep away from them. So it's our choice where the pilgrimage, what kind of pilgrimage we want in our mind, in our meetings, in the friends we make. The ones who are elevating us, they are going to take us closer to Krishna if they are in Krishna consciousness. And if they're just materialistic, if they just want this, they want that, they're not satisfied with what they have in their life, they can't accept how life is, they can't accept as it is, then they're going to make rounds back and forth, in this world, and they won't be able to go closer to Krishna. So choice is with us. It's nice to hear, but we have to start the work on our consciousness. This is where this is what is going to take us closer to Krishna. Otherwise, we can just hear the Bhagavatam, listen to the teachings and say yes, give our realizations, but the realizations should be something which we can apply on ourselves. And like Srila Prabhupada said in the purpose of these verses today, that self-realization will be when we will get the spiritual body, when we'll be actually serving Krishna in close proximity. We'll be not just here, like at the moment we are just practicing, we are just hoping that we will be given a chance, Krishna will be happy with us. But the real self-realization will be the day we will get that body to serve Krishna. So that is like something I've learned so beautifully today. I've been through this purport before, but I never picked it so closely. Like self-realization, you just think in your head, self-realization, a lesson you have learned from the reading or from the chapters or the verses you have covered. But the purport said, the last purport we read, it said the self-realization will be when after finishing the rounds of these material bodies, we will be granted a spiritual body eventually, and when we'll be serving Lord. So thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for making us understand. We would have never understood any word of these Sanskrit verses. The words are so difficult. Even the translation is impossible to understand on your own. So thank you, Srila Prabhupada, and thank you for these sanghas that we get to understand the deep-rooted meanings of these verses. Shri Vyasdev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
So thank you so much. We'll catch up again on Monday. Have a great Narasimha Chaturdashi. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
So much.
Hare
Hari Bol.
Krishna.
It will be nice to see you, Mataji and Prabhuji, on Nursing Chaturdashi. Please come.
Thank you.